Alright, welcome back to my channel, guys. Thanks a lot for all of the support and interest you've had in the first video that I've uploaded. This makes me feel much more motivated and responsible to make sure that you make the best out of this course and it turns out to be a success for you. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. First, I'll talk you through a bit of my experience, just so that you know who's the person who's going to be guiding you through this course. But then we'll talk much more about you and your background and what kind of skills or knowledge or experience you would expect to have before you start with a course like this. And we'll do this because I've seen a lot of people who just feel a bit anxious or not confident before they start with initiatives like this. So I'm here to help you get that confidence that you might lack and make sure that you stay motivated throughout the course and make it a success for you. Then we'll talk about software testing. I'll just on a high level explain to you what software testing is, why is it needed, what is the industry like more or less. We will go through more detail obviously throughout the course on software testing, but this is more to lay the groundwork for that and just to give you a general feel of the subject that we're going to be diving deep into. Then lastly, we're going to be talking about the software testers' career perspectives. So first of all, why is software testing a good place to start with? There are many other great entry-level jobs that you can start with, like technical support, customer support, but I feel like there are a couple of special things to software testing that just make it stand out from the rest of the career options, and we'll talk a bit about that. We'll also talk about things like what kind of a salary to expect for an entry-level job, and then how it will grow together with the progression of your career and what are the different options that your career can grow into. And we'll cover much more. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. Okay, so I won't talk much about my career. I'll leave a link to my LinkedIn profile in the description of the video in case you want to check it out or just stay in touch later on. What I want to cover is a couple of things that I've done throughout my software testing and test management career that I think will help me get you where you want to be at the end of this video tutorial series. So first of all, I have designed training programs for beginner level software tester jobs. So I have designed internship programs where you would come with absolutely no experience and in a very short amount of time be able to become a test professional working for commercial projects for multinational companies, eventually then growing into management roles, leading small sets of resources, leading small projects, so on and so forth. So when I was doing that, like obviously I didn't just come up with it when I was just starting my career. I have been observing from the best really that are out there. Like I've seen so many great professionals and they have influenced my career choices and they have just excited me so much that all of this like experience that I have seen coming from them, that I've been just absorbing, has been helping me make these kind of courses even more and more efficient, and obviously they were working on these courses as well. So I have generated quite a big kind of backup of knowledge that I would want to be sharing with you. And why I'm saying this is because the course that the way that we're going to be going throughout this course is influenced mainly by my personal experience. So I'm not going to be reading you off some sort of a book where it just says this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. I'm just going to tell you what I've seen. And trust me, I've seen enough. Like I've seen enough people come and go through an internship program and become software test professionals that I know that it can work for pretty much anyone. You just need to have the right mindset. You just need to have the right attitude and be willing to invest your free time into learning something more. And the more you learn, obviously, the faster and the more effective you will be with this course. I've also managed other people's careers. So obviously, my own career, I've been observing it. So I started as a software tester and then gradually moved to various management positions in software testing. And as part of that, yeah, I've been seeing what are the options, but it was quite limited. But then when I was in a management position, and I've been in management positions throughout multiple different companies with different setups, I have also managed careers of other people in a way that, you know, someone would be a beginner level software tester and they would want to become a test manager at a certain point in time. So I build a roadmap for them to help them basically get to where they want to be milestone by milestone. So I kind of know how the structure and how the different variations of your career can look like once you get into software tester jobs in any company. And it varies. Like if you're in a smaller startup, it can be completely different, and if you're like in a large multinational company, it could be completely different. And there are life hacks that kind of I have seen, and again, from personal experience, I'll just pass on to you so that you can make the best use of it once you get in there as well. But enough about me. I don't want to talk so much about me. This course is about you and not about me. I really want to talk more about your background and what kind of skills you need to have before you get started. As I mentioned, the answer to this is easy. By default, you don't need to know anything before you start with this course. You just need to have the right mindset, and you need to know English good enough so that you can follow this course. Like, that's the short answer. Like, how good should my English be once I get employed at a certain company? Like, obviously, if you're watching this video series from a country where English is the native language, then you don't need to even ask that question. But if you're, or if English is your actually native language, but if you're in a country where it's not, so your English should be good enough to be able to follow this video. So if you can listen to me and you can understand me, I think that's pretty much like good enough. But if we're talking like in these international terms, I would say like if you're like B1 plus or B2 level, English is good enough to start with, and then C1 would be something that you would need when you are heavily involved in communication. But by default, although it depends on the company you will end up in, in the beginning you don't need to be, you're not going to be required to be interacting in English a lot verbally. Like, mostly it's going to be written communication, and we'll talk about that much more later on as well, but you don't need to worry about that so much. So short answer is, if you can follow this video series so far, then you're pretty good. And in terms of all of the other skills, so you don't need anything. If you're tech savvy, if you have some technical background already, that will obviously help you a lot. But if you don't, then don't worry at all. I have seen students who are not nowhere close the computer sciences, like they have been studying in different areas. I have seen people coming from a completely different background, like accountants, I don't know, teachers of literature coming and becoming software test professionals. So really, like, no background is required for you to get started with this. Like, the more you have, the better, basically. But if you don't worry about it and don't panic. And that's pretty much it, really. Like, in terms of the stuff that you need to bring in before, and the most important thing is motivation, because any sort of skill can be taught, but the motivation you bring with you. So if you are motivated and if you think you can make this work for you, that's really all you need. Like, you just need some free time to be able to invest that time in a focused manner into this course, and then you just need to stay motivated. All right, in the next section of this video, we'll talk about software testing and the software tester's career perspectives. Stay tuned. All right, so let's finally talk about software testing, guys. I'm not going to go through the history of software testing. Like, in many cases, if someone would try to explain software testing to you, or in some cases even some videos try to start that way, like they would go with the back down to the history of software testing, like when was the first defect found, when was the first act of software testing performed, back in the day when the earth was getting created. Like, I'm not going to go into details like that on this video, because as I said, like, I'm intending to make this course as effective as possible for you guys. It's not bad to know like the history behind it, but you're not going to need it when you go on an interview. Like, rarely, if ever, someone will ask you a historical question about software testing. Also, I want to talk about software testing and quality assurance terms. So they're used interchangeably, but they're not really the same thing. But again, I'm not going to cover that in this video. There's no difference really, like in the context of this video, on what term you use. In 99% of the cases, if you go and check out websites for jobs, or just the websites of your potential employers, the companies that you're interested in, and just search for positions in software testing, these terms are used interchangeably there. So a position might be called software quality assurance analyst, software test engineer, software quality assurance tester, just a bunch of variations of the same thing, really. But even though the terms really are not the same, the positions that they would hire for, regardless of the differences between how they name them, at the end of the day are the same thing. They require the same set of skills. So if you have the time, feel free to read on that. I would say you can skip it for now if you want to. But what is software testing at the end of the day? So software testing is the act of ensuring the expected quality for the end users of the products that you're testing. In other words, you are making sure that whoever is going to be using whatever you're testing is going to be happy with it. And forget about software for a moment. Let's say, to explore it on an example, let's pick up, I don't know, a pen, for example, and let's say it's been designed and it's been delivered to your table, and it's not in mass production yet. It's a new type of a pen, and it's not on the market. So you're the first person to actually find out if, like, someone has built it, but you're the first person to find out if that pen meets the requirements of the people to whom this pen is going to be sold to, right? And what's the best way to do that? There is science behind it, like behind software testing, and we will cover bits of that just so that you know about some concepts that are there to guide you, like how to come up with test cases. Like, just mystifies it a bit, but it's really super simple in the end. One way to approach testing is through the whole science behind it. Like, you just try, like you don't know yourself, and you just try to think of, okay, this rule tells me that I need to be looking for this specific case, I need to be checking this, and then something in the middle. But in reality, what you need to do to drive your testing attitude is to put yourself in the place of the end user. So if you can understand what the expectations of your end user will be, then you will feel the same level of discomfort. You will feel as unhappy as the end user would feel if you encounter something that's just not working the way it should, right? With, let's say, with the pen even. Now, I don't know, for example, a super obvious stupid one. So let's say the pen has been delivered to you, it's all marked in blue. Like, it's just a blue from the outside pen, but then you start writing with it and it's a red. So like, you're like, like if I had a stack of these pens, like maybe there will be different colors. So what would the pen of the same company colored in red be writing in? Like, you would be confused. So would the end user also be confused? Probably. And there are ways that this is defined. Like, there are people in the overall software delivery that define, they know the end users better, and then based on that they define the requirements that you need to meet, because you can't go and ask every single person who will buy a pen, right? There will just be some experts or who do some research, they have some tools to investigate that would help you. But at the end of the day, the better you know the end user of the product, the better a tester you will be. That's like the key to it. And anytime you will be lost throughout this course, and remember this, because this is going to be guiding most of the kind of test preparation, test creation, test execution part of this course that we're going to be covering. Just remember this. So every time you're lost, ask yourself, in this scenario, what would an end user want to do? And then try to think that way. If you can't come up with an answer, you should stop doing whatever you're doing on a testing and just try to go back and explore what the end user's motivation will be. You will find some sort of misconceptions out there. Like, I've seen tutorials, I've seen videos where the trainer, there's like an audience sitting and the trainer is telling them that the software testing is the act of finding issues in software. When you are testing, you need to ensure that you do everything to break the software. Like, I don't want you to get that mindset. It's wrong, to be honest. Like, it's part of it. Trying to break the software is a type of a test, and there's a name for it, but it's not like what should be the intrinsic values that you have when you start testing. Like, your motivation should really be, how do I ensure that my end user is happy? That's all. I guess I would say that's pretty much it for like an overview of what software testing implies. So it's the act of ensuring that the product that you are working on meets the end user requirements and their expectations. And there are multiple ways that it can be done. So the same pen, for example, you could like if you just have one pen to test, it's easy to test it by just writing it, like doing whatever type of things you would want to test on yourself. But I'd say if you have 1,000 pens and you need to make sure that all of them look exactly the same, there's no differences between them, you would need some help. You would need maybe another 10 or 100 testers, or you would need to automate the process somehow. So you would need to make use of some tools that exist there. I don't know, in the pen creation industry, I don't know, I'm just making things up right now. But in software development industry, there are automation tools which can help you with tasks that you are just not able to perform yourself. So in this course, we're not going to cover test automation principles and technologies. We're going to be focusing mainly on manual testing. So manual testing is when you're testing something with your own hands, pretty much. So you just act as an end user, like the final end user, and you just perform the same types of tests that they would do. Sometimes, like, not necessarily them, like you would need to make sure something in the background works so that then the end user gets the experience that they want to get. But basically, we're not going to be covering test automation. It's a more complex part of testing. So it's not, when I was saying that software testing can be quite easy to get into, it didn't imply test automation, and you don't need to know test automation to get a job in software testing. So you can become a manual tester for the beginning, and then you can grow from there, and test automation is one of the options where your career could grow. But cool, yeah, this pretty much wraps it up. As I said, so for now, like, you can just think of ways of what an end user of a certain product will feel like when they receive a product with certain issues with it, and you can think of ways how you would be able to catch those issues if you were there before that product would be delivered. So for example, and think of a way that there can be multiple types of users. So there can be like a user which grabs a phone and then they're like, well, like a kid, for example. A kid's a user, right? Like they can pick up a phone and try to smash it. So like if it falls down, would it break? Like that's one type of a user. I mean, it's not a very probable case, but it is a case, and it's a type of a end user behavior. But then the other ones would just go, I don't know, try to use a face unlock, whatever it is. Like, what if it doesn't work from the first time? Will the user be happy? So on and so forth. Like, this is the way to think about it. We will go into much more detail with this, and we will structure this approach on how to kind of use your knowledge of the end users and turn it into a structured set of processes to guide an as inclusive testing process and as exhaustive testing process as possible. But for now, I guess this wraps up the software testing introduction part for you. Thanks a lot, and stay tuned for the next section. Alright, in the last section of this video, we're going to be talking about why software testing is really the best option for you to start your career with. And you might ask, why would I not pick a software development as a role? Or why would I not pick some support roles, technical support, customer support, representation, so on and so forth? I would say all of those are options, but software testing is the best fit for a beginner for a couple of reasons. Firstly, software testing is way easier than software development. So especially manual testing is way easier than software development. So you would not need to be learning programming languages, framework. Like, you would need to still pick up some technology knowledge, like you need to learn how to use certain tools, but just the amount of it is way less than that of software developer. In terms of comparing to support roles, software testing just pays better. So like entry-level software testers role and entry-level support roles will be different mainly by just the fact that you'll be able to get paid more when you start, get paid more when you start, and it does require a bit more initial knowledge than if you would apply for a support role, but in the end it pays off. Another great thing about software testing is the fact that you have a bunch of online opportunities. So there are a lot of freelancing websites where you can go into, register, create a profile, build up a portfolio there, basically apply for certain jobs. We will cover that, by the way, as well as part of one of the videos on how to kind of build up, if you kind of failed in the beginning to get hired by companies around you, like how can you seek for jobs in the freelancing market. But essentially it opens up a lot of opportunity in the online space as well for you. And And yeah, I guess there is a lot of things that just make it special. It's just a great mix of kind of factors that become more enticing for someone who doesn't have any experience in that before. So if you're keen, like, you can get started with it with minimal investment, and then all of the other options you want to explore will still be there, but you will be hired. You will be working a full-time job, being part of the software development lifecycle, working on projects with the stakeholders that you would later on want to maybe become in development, management, whatever it is, and that makes it a really great option, really. In terms of the expectations when it comes to salary for beginners, like, it varies from country to country, and I'm not going to be going like trying to explore in whichever country. Like, I don't know where you're watching this video from, but I'd say, like, in the US, for example, if you just go to Glassdoor and you would just check out the basic salaries for manual testers, like, it starts from somewhere around like 40,000 US dollars per year, and up until like even 70,000 US dollars depending on the position. So it's in that range. Like, the average, I think, is 55,000 US dollars, and depending on the country where you are, it might vary, but I can say definitely that it gives a really good entry-level salary to people who get involved, and then you have a lot of options to grow really fast in terms of your pay, in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your skills, so on and so forth. I think this pretty much wraps up this video now. I hope I was able to give you a general overview and try to make this exciting for you as well. If you feel like we could do something differently in the upcoming videos, please add your notes in the comments section, and I will make sure to consider them. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to be covering a lot of exciting content in the upcoming videos, so stay tuned, and I will see you soon.